Elmaleh, you remember we were talking about that if you have two brothers that they inherited from their father a house, and after they divided the house, one was living on the top and one was living on the bottom. And then what happened was is that the walls started caving in of the bottom. So he went and he told the top one, listen, right, I want to come and I want to build it again. He says, no, I'm fine here. I don't need to build anything. I'm 100% okay. So he told him, okay, so I'm going to destroy it and I'll build it. He says, okay, but I don't have a place where to live. It's fine. I'm going to rent you out a place where to live. He says, I don't want it. It's too much headache. So lo kamid darle. He says, right, but I can't live on the bottom. So he says, what's the problem? Right? Lie down, crawl in, and lie down and crawl out. What's your problem? Yeah? These are brothers. So Amar Rav Hama, yeah? So says Rav Hama, Bedini could be Merkef. He could stop a Medina, meaning Behemet, you can't really do anything. Right? But one of these words, only if it did not get less than 10 tvachim. Meaning as long as the beams did not hit less than tvachim. Why? Because if it did get to less than tvachim, you could say it's already my reshut. And it's not meshubat to you. Meaning, since the bottom part was his, if it starts caving down, and now it's less than 10 tvachim, that belongs to me now. I'm on the bottom. And therefore that doesn't belong to you. So now I could force you to come destroy it and rebuild it, because this is already my turf. This is my property from the Mata Nasara. So therefore that's what says the Gemara. One of these words also, if they did not make a condition between them. If they did make a condition between them, they are obligated to destroy it and to rebuild the house from new. So says the Gemara, even when they do come and make a condition, ad kama, right? Until when can you obligate him to rebuild it? The rumo, which is the height, is going to be like half the width and half the length. Okay? Which means that when you have the height is going to be, right, less than this, so therefore you're able to do it. Which means that just like the midot, so therefore many times, for example, you have, right, the orech and the rochav of the bottom one is going to be 10 by 12 amot, so then the gova is 12 amot, right? So therefore he says, but if it's going to be 11 amot, so then you could already destroy it. Okay? Meaning that was the equation many times to find out. Many times they wanted to say, how high can I build it? So they say, take the height, take the width and length, right? And then you have that number is going to give you the height. Okay? That's what it means. Rumo, the rumo of the binyan is like half of it. Obviously, you have to half it, right? Because if you have the full amount, imagine you have 10 by 12, you can't have, it's going to be half. Fine. Amalu Rabba. Rabba comes and he says, La minu lechu lo titlu bebuke srike b'Rav Nachman. He comes and he says, Rabba said to the Chachamim, didn't I already tell you that don't some come put empty things on Rabba? Meaning, right, you're not going to build the house you're not going to destroy the house against his will in such a case. This is what Rav Nachman says, ki d'daire inche. Right? You cannot come and destroy a house as long as people could still live there. Meaning you come and you put a hanacha. You know what hanacha is? You put an assumption. The assumption was that the height is going to be like the width and length, right? Meaning half the width and length is going to be the height. And if it's going to be less than that, you already destroy the house and rebuild it. He says, but people could still live in it like that way. Right? So what does that mean? Imagine right now you have the width and length, right? And the height, No, but that's the question. The question is people could still live there. So therefore don't come and start putting it. That's what Rav Nachman said. It's incorrect. So says the Kama. So okay. So what's a normal living then? He says, Amar Ravuna bered Rav Yoshua ki hechi de aile asuryata de mechuza v'adar. A place where you're able to bring in chavilot kanim, which are long from mechuza, to go around in all the kibunim. Then if the house went further, like, lower than that, so then you have to destroy it. Meaning as long as you could still walk into the house and it's still like a nice height, that's fine. You understand? Because at the end of the day, that's still fine, right, of everything that we're talking about. So Gavra, there's a story. There was a person that he built a wall opposite the windows of his friend. Now he didn't distance 4 amot. So therefore he was stopping the sun from going into the house. Elmaleh, so he told him, Kama faltalai. Well, you're making it dark for me. Elmaleh, he said, Sachan lechahacha, right? Fine. So you know what? I'm going to close your windows, and I'm going to make you windows above my wall, right? Which means you had the windows here. I'll close them off, and then my wall got up to wherever it is up here. Above that, I'll make you new windows. So Amarle, he says, Kamarat shitai. What are you talking about? But if you do that, you're weakening my wall. So I'm going to destroy your wall. Adukte de kavai, until the windows. Ubanina le, and then I'm going to build it up. Favina la kave, and then I'm going to make the windows on the top. Right? Achata, he says, fine, but the bottom of the wall is going to be old, and the top of the wall is going to be new. Lo kaima, it's not going to withstand. Right? So he says, Amarle, he says, okay, fine. I'll destroy it until the floor. And then I'm going to build it. And then I'm going to do it. Amarle, he says, one wall, right, of the house is going to be old, and all the other walls, one wall is going to be new, and all the other one is going to be right thing. Amarle, he told them, I'm going to destroy the entire house, and I'll build it to above. Amarle, he says, okay, but I don't have a place where to live. Amarle told him, okay, I'm going to rent for you a place. Amarle, he says, lo terachna, I don't want. It's too much work for me. It's too much balagan for me. He has, Bedin is allowed to do that. He could be ma'akevoto. Yeah? He says, right? He's Hainuhach, says the Gemara, 1 second. But then it's the exact same case as the previous case. What's the difference between the previous case and this case? So he says, Atul Amali, why do I need another case? So says the Gemara, that even though he was only using this binyan, only like a machsan, right? And not for actually living, he could still actually stop him. Right? Betana, that even moving the tevin is too much of a work for him. Meaning, even though this guy was only using it as a storage house, he could stop him from doing that. And he could tell him, listen, I don't want you to have your wall here. Get rid of your wall. Yeah, an incredible concept. Yeah, mamash. Okay. Even though I would have said, right, a different thing. I would have said, really, be'emet, the chidush is that in the previous case, it was done naturally. It was sinking naturally. The guy on the top didn't do anything wrong. Right here, the guy put his foot in it. He was the one that put up the wall where he shouldn't have put in the wall, right? So therefore, obviously, here it's much worse. But again, right, that was just the Gemara is just saying another chidush that even if it would have been this, right, it would have been already enough. Fine. So says the Gemara. Today, another story, right? There were two brothers there. One of them got the traklin, a beautiful traklin. One of them got a gina. So the traklin is like the, how do you call it? Like the place in the front. No, the gina is the garden, before the garden nowadays. The traklin is like, there's a matraklin. The traklin is like it's like the lobby or something like that. And then you have, right? Yes. And then you have, the other one got the gina, right? Which is beside it. So the one that got the garden, he went and he built a wall at the entrance of the traklin. And therefore now the traklin does not get any light. So Amarle, he told him, Kama faltalai, again, you're making it dark for me. Amarle, he says, he says, yeah, but I'm building within my own property. So what's the problem? Yeah, which means that since it's my own property, I can build whatever I want. He's correct, right? Why? Because since the guy did not have 3 years of chazakah, that he had the light in the traklin, so he was allowed to do that. So Amaleh Ravina Ravashi says, Ravina Ravashi, Ma'ishna me'adatanya, what's the difference now, which we learned in a Braita? So two brothers that came, they took a Yerusha. One of them took the Sadeh Kerem, and one of them took Sadeh Lavan, right? Which is beside it. Yesh lo lebala Kerem arba amot b'Sadeh Lavan. The Bala Kerem has 4 amot in the Sadeh Lavan, right? Because basically they used to come and they used to work it out. Shal menat ken chalku, because that's the meaning. The one that takes the Kerem, right? In order for him to have the Kerem, he needs this. So the same thing, meaning the one that took this, right? Obviously, he needs the light. So if he needs the light, that's part of the Yerusha, meaning that's part of the division. You can't just come and start taking away the light from him. Amalei, he says, no, Hatam, there, right? They did it together. And therefore, he went and he gave him the money for the Iluya Kerem and Stea Lavan. And therefore, he's taking with the Kerem 4 amot, which are needed for the Avodah as well. Here, it wasn't like that. Each one just took a different part. Aval but here, in our case, they didn't come and evaluate anything. So says the Gemara, while we're dealing with fools, the high shackle, one of them is going to take a traklin, one of them is going to take a gina, and they didn't come and they didn't speak about it between them. Meaning, what's going on? You know what? The guy's going to take a gina, a garden, instead of taking like a nice entrance of a lobby. Like, it doesn't make sense. So Elmaleh, he says, even if they did speak between them, they may leave nekeshura, right? They were talking about the value of the bricks and of the korot, and they didn't speak about the airspace. So therefore that they never spoke between them. So that's why he's allowed to do that. So says the Gemara, so why can he tell him, Meikara asplida palaktali, hashta mashuli idruna. He says at the beginning, you gave me a traklin. Now you went and you made it into a dark room. It's not a traklin anymore. Before it was a beautiful lobby with a beautiful light and this. No, you made me some dark room. So Amar Rav Shimi Barashi, Shema Be'alma Palagle. He just gave him the name. And therefore it's just called a traklin. That means even though it's not a regular traklin, because now it's making it dark, nevertheless it's still called a traklin. So he brings a proof. What's the proof? Milo Tanya, didn't we learn in a Braita? The person comes and he says, I'm selling you a bet kur of far. Right? Remember, a bet kur is a measurement. So a bet kur of a far I'm going to sell you. Right? And he says, Afal pi sheno ela letech, even though it's going to be only half of that, higio, it's still going to be good. Shalom achalo ela shema, he only sold in the name. Vehud mitkele bekur, as long as it's called bet kur. Pardes ani mochelecha, right? He's going to tell him, I'm going to sell you a pardes. Avabi shembo rimonim, even though it only got a pomegranate, higio, it's still good. Shalom, Bezilin sold him the name. Right? As long as it's called a pardes. Even though it only has gifanim, higio, it's still going to be good. Right? He says, and even though it doesn't have any type of grapes whatsoever, it's still going to be good because they only sold it the name, as long as it's called a karma, right? Which means that sometimes you see that it's going to be a name, even though it doesn't actually have that inside of it. So he says, Midami, can you compare both cases? There, the seller could tell the Nokeach, Shma Zabin Lecha, I sold you the name. Here he could tell him, this is why we divided it that way. Just like our fathers lived in it. Meaning the father lived in it when it was a regular traklin. You are the one that you changed the status quo. Over there, you sold me something. Okay, is it called the name? Is it not called the name? This, that, back, forth. Here, right, we want to live in it the way that our fathers lived in it. It's a completely different world. So Amru Lei, so they said, Zainamu Bet, right, 7b. Right, Amalemon Yinuka Markashisha, Bered Rav Chasta Ravashi. Says, right, these are the two different names of the children of Chasta. So imagine, one of them was called Mor Yenuka and Mor Kashisha, right? The older and Mr. Younger, right? That's a junior and senior. Okay, so the children of Chasta to Ravashi. Yenuka is a Yenika is a Yonek, the younger one that's being Yonek. Kashish is like a Yashish. Yashish is an elderly person. Okay, so you have the Rav Chasta Ravashi. Nardai letaimayu. The two Bnei Nardai, they go according to the reasonings. There's a machloket. What happens if you have two brothers that they divided something? So if they come and they divide, they don't have a path to get to wherever they went. They don't have windows. They don't have the ladders. They don't have the irrigation canal. Meaning what they divided, there's nothing. So for example, I come and I take the house and you take the field. I have no rights of getting to the house. I'm going to come and start walking. You say, what are you doing in my field? So yeah, but I got the house. He says, no, but I have to get there. Okay, so fly. Right? And then you would have to actually pay for that. Right? Why? Because listen, we divide. That is the Shita of Nardai. Because that's Rav Nachman in the name of Shemuel. Okay? Now he comes and he says, right? He says, but Rav says, no, they do have it. So it comes out a machlok between Rav and Shemuel. Okay, that's me. There was a shtar chov of Yitomim Ktanim. They had a receipt against it. Agbuya lo makbin, we can't collect it. Omikra lo karin, but we can't tear it up. Right? We can't collect it because there's a receipt. We can't tear it up because maybe the Yitomim, when they grow up, maybe they're going to bring a proof to show that really the shovar was false. So therefore, we can't. It's basically like a standby. You can't collect because there's a receipt, but you're not going to tear up the debt document because maybe the children, when they grow up, they're going to bring a proof that really it was forged or there was a problem with it. So Amaleh Ravacha bered Rava the Ravina. Says Ravacha, the son of Rava to Ravina. Hilchata, what's halacha? Amaleh, he says, the halacha is like Rav Chama in all these cases, except for the one of the receipt. The Sade B'shikra, because we never say that there's going to be false witnesses. Meaning we don't have we're not going to say, they're probably false witnesses. We don't depend upon false witnesses. And therefore, we just tear up the shtar and that's it. But the Ramadi says, no, the halacha is like Rav Chama also in this case. He says, because if it's going to be the be'emet, right, it's going to be a good receipt, Why didn't it come out in the lifetime of the father? The fact that it didn't come out during the lifetime of the father, so it's probably forged. Meaning, 1 second, why did the receipt only come out now? Why did it only come out now? Why, when the father was alive, there was never a receipt? All of a sudden, the father dies. They found a receipt. Doesn't that sound a little bit strange? That now that he dies, all of a sudden now there's a receipt? Meaning that it could be that it was forged, and that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. The halacha is also like Rav Chama also in this case. Okay. Mishnah. Zayin Amud Bet. 7b, the Mishnah. Middle of the page. Says the Mishnah, do you know we're going to force the Ben HaChatzer, right, that he doesn't want to help out the other people in the Chatzer, to build a Bet Shar. A Bet Shar is where they put the Shomer. You know, like that they have Vigilantes. You know, like they have like a watch house. That's the entrance of the field, the entrance of the courtyard, in order to make sure guardhouse, watch house, right? In order to make sure they're going to be. So they force them to build it. He said, no, not all the fields are fitting for this, right? Why? There's some of them that you don't need protection of all these things. The Gemara is going to explain, obviously, with the other people in the how do you call this, in the field. Remember the olden days, it's not like nowadays. In the olden days, they used to have a chatzer, and in the chatzer, you used to have different houses. So therefore, I come and I say, you know what, we want a watch house, right? So we want to make like the village. So we want to put on the beginning a watch house. Anybody that comes in and out, they have to go through the watch house, right? Anybody, a door. We want to lock the door. So they force them. They're able to force them to do that. Rashbag says not all the fields are fitting for that. Also, the people of the city, they could force other people of the city to come and to build for the city a wall and the lock for the doors of the wall. He says, no, not all the cities are fitting for walls. How much do you have to be in the city to be considered part of the city? Kanaba bet dira, but if you buy a house, immediately you're part of the city. Meaning, before buying a house, you have to be there for 12 months to be considered one of the people that live in the city. But once you buy a house, you're permanent. Yes, you're permanent. Because once you buy a house, that's it. You're part of the city. Says the Gemara. Says 1 second. According to the Gemara asks, it's mashma from our Mishnah that it's good to have a bet shar. He says, there was a chassid that Eliyahu Navi, Zechul Tov, used to come every single time by him. Right? He always used avad bet shar. Once he made a bet shar, he never came to him again. Right? Now why? Because basically people used to come for tzedakah and the guy couldn't hear them anymore. So since he wasn't able to give tzedakah anymore, so therefore that's why Eliyahu Navi stopped coming. So answers the Gemara, Lakashia, it's not a question. He says, here we're talking about a case of the inside, and one of them is from the outside, which means the bet shar that the chassid did was built on the inside of the chatzer. So it's a chisaron because the delet is locked, and the delet is on the outside. So since the door is on the outside, and then after the door there's a bet shar, and then after the bet shar is the chatzer, it gets muzzled out that you can't even hear that somebody's at the door. So in that such a case, that's something bad. But if it was the other way around, that first there was a bet shar, and then there was a door, so therefore the door was close to the chatzer, so they could go into the bet shar and go to the door, and then people could hear them. So that's going to be okay. So that means basically there's going to be a difference how it's made. Another answer, if you could answer another answer. One of them has a door, one of them doesn't have a door. So there's another answer. If it doesn't have a door, there's no problem. If it does have a door, that's when it's going to be a problem. If you can answer a third answer. They both have a door. One has a like a, how do you call it, like a handle to come in, and one doesn't. Meaning if it has a putachat, what do you care? He goes in, he goes inside. If he doesn't, it doesn't. If you could answer a fourth answer, right? How do you open the door, from the inside or the outside? Some doors you could open up from the inside. Some doors from the outside it's locked, and only from the inside can you open up. So it all depends. So those are 4 different answers, but it's all basically the same idea, that basically could the aniyim come in or not. As long as the aniyim were coming in, so bet shar was okay. But if the aniyim could not come in anymore, so then the bet shar is not good. Okay? 2 dots. So we force him to build a bet shar and a delet. Tanya, we learned in a braita. Rabban Shimon comes and he says, look, not all the fields are fitting for a bet shar. Only something which is right beside the Reshut Rabim. Basically, what they're trying to say is, 1 second. If you're right beside the common thoroughway, so what happens? There's hezek riyah. Everyone's watching you. But if you're outside, you're far away. Nobody could see you anyway. So why would you need a bet shot? A bet shot is going to be your mamash. You're on Collins. You're on Harding. You're on. But if you're going to be on some Caroline, which is like a dead end street, right, or Abbott dead end street, right? Nobody's coming in. So therefore, what you don't need to come and start making a bet shot. Rabbanan, but according to the rabbis, I say no. Sometimes there's a lot of people in the Reshut Rabim, and they go in there. So the fact that they go in there, you still need protection from the people in the Reshut Rabim as well. So because of that, they said that no, that you could even force them. The same halacha would apply now to the next two dots, which is basically to force the people of the city to build a wall and to build the door, right? He says it all depends what you're. If you're by a border, right? So mamash, you're on the border. So then obviously you're going to be obligated to come and to make a wall, right? But if you're not on the border, it's not Rabbanan, Zimnin Dinikr, but the guy says, he says, yeah. But all of a sudden they come and they go around. And therefore all the cities, meaning even if it's not by the border, sometimes they come in and therefore you have to be careful. Okay? Comes Rabbi Elazar and he asks from Yochanan, Keshen Govim. When they come and they collect the money, Govim, what do they collect? According to the amount of people or according to the money that you have? Meaning you're 7 people in the house, so they collect according to the amount of people in the house, or they collect according to the money that you have. So Elmaleh, he says, Lefima Mongovim, they collect according to the money. Why? The Sakanat Nefashot. Because basically, when they come, they want to come and steal money. So if you've got more money, you're the one that's more prone to be stolen from. So you have to pay, right? And you're going to pay more. Put masmerot in it because you have to be very, very careful and don't move from it. That's what you're going to have to actually do. Okay? So Ikadami, there are those that say, do they collect according to the distance of the houses or according to the money? So he went and he says, also according to the distance, which means that since they're going to be so close to the entrance, they're the first ones. We always know that the ones which are closest to the border, they're the most prone to be hit because they're right there. Meaning the first houses are the first they're the first ones. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiyah, okay, he says as follows: Rabbanan, he says Rami Deshura ad Rabbanan. He put taxes on the rabbis in order for protection. The rabbis don't need protection. What am I going to count them? If you're going to tell me it's for the tzaddikim, right? Which is there's going to be so much like chol. If it's written that the entire Bnei Yisrael are considered chol shvat hayam, tzaddikim asmam mechol yibum, what they're going to be more than chol. Then I'm going to count them the actions of the tzaddikim. Mechol yibum is going to be even more than the sand. Just like the sand, which is mu'at, megin alayam, it's going to protect the sea from overflowing into the ocean or into the place. Meaning, what protects, right? What protects the world? The sand. Because if it wasn't for the sand, the water would just come in and just, that's it. There's nothing stopping it. The sand is stopping the water from coming in. So, yeah, right? What do you think? When it comes hurricane season, floods, what do? They get sandbags. Why sandbags? Because the sand is what protects from the water from coming in. So he comes and he says the same thing. So so when they came in front of Yochanan, he told him, why didn't you come and you bring another pasuk? Ani Choma v'Shadai Kamigdalot. Ani Choma is the Torah. The Torah, right, is going to protect, just like a Choma protects on the city. The Shaddai Kamigdalot on my bosom is like the Migdalot, it's like towers. These are Tamidei Chachamim. So therefore, just like the Shaddai is Menikot Lacherim, so too Tamidei Chachamim are going to be Melamdim Torah Lacherim, and that's a Migdalot, right? Because they come and they actually go like Migdalim. So therefore, you see from here that they don't need a Choma. So therefore, what are you coming and putting taxes on the rabbis? They don't need the protection. And obviously, we're going to go through, right, the rest of the Gemara.